The main difference between the ACT and the SAT, in my opinion, has to do with the reading section. The ACT reading section for me was the most difficult section in the ACT and the SAT. I thought the reading section was also the most frustrating with the ACT, and I'll tell you why. The reading section includes 4 passages where 40 questions must be answered in 35 minutes. This time restraint gives you little to no time. It gives you about 25 to 30 seconds to answer each question if you're going to read the article. Now, I used an approach where I didn't read the article and I went straight to the questions. I went straight to the line reference questions and I answered the questions that involved the passage as a whole last. And that for me was the best approach. However, I did find that approach frustrating since I went into the questions completely blind, basically. I didn't know what the passage was about. The strategy I did was more of a Where's Waldo effect. It was more of a scavenger hunt. So I looked at the questions and I had to go back to the passage, look for the answer, circle the answer, and move on. There's no time in the ACT reading section, in my opinion. For the SAT reading section, now that is where I was able to answer the questions based on my knowledge. I felt more comfortable going into that test because I knew I was going to have a bit more time to understand and annotate and read the article and then answer the questions also in a fast manner, but at least I knew what I was doing. So, for the SAT, there are 5 to 6 passages with 52 questions that you have to answer in 65 minutes. This gives a little more time. However, the questions are a little more difficult, whereas the ACT was more straightforward. With SAT, questions involve thinking, such as understanding the theme, the tone, making inferences about what the author is trying to say. So, that's going to wrap up with the reading section. Now, let's get into the science section. The science section is in the ACT. It doesn't include in the SAT. However, my belief is that the ACT added the science section as just another reading section. So the science section is going to revolve around reading charts and graphs, but also just understanding a basic summary of what the passage is saying and then answering the straightforward questions. In my opinion, the questions in the science section are a little more less straightforward than the reading section, but the time restraint is the same as the reading. It is fast. You need to answer those questions really quickly. And like I said, sticking to that as many minutes, or it's 5 minutes. I did 5 minutes for the science section for each little passage. That's going to get you your ability to answer as many questions as possible. Now, for the math section, the SAT has 2 math sections, the non-calculator and the calculator. The ACT only has 1 math section. So there's a little difference too. If you're stronger at the math, in math, like I believe I am, I recommend the SAT. Because the ACT, you're not able to show your strength in math, since it only has 1 math section and basically 3 other English/reading sections. So that's my opinion on, if your strength more in math, I would go with the SAT. Now, the SAT math problems are also a little more challenging, but not too much more challenging. And you're given quite a bit more time, about 15 minutes extra if you add both the non-calculator and the calculator section. Whereas the ACT, you have 1 minute to answer each question, 60 questions, for an hour you get in the math section for the ACT. So the SAT is a little more challenging, but not really. In the ACT, it's strictly all multiple choice, and they're straightforward. The last 10 questions are definitely the hardest. Anyways, that's with the math sections. Now lastly, the writing sections. The writing section, the SAT and the ACT are so similar. What they do in the writing section for the SAT is they incorporate some science aspects and graphs, basically because the SAT addresses a science section itself, but the SAT doesn't. So they're going to add some of that into the reading and writing sections, but they're pretty much simple. I use it when I approach the graph questions. I skip them and then come back because they trip me up a little bit because I'm all in the mode for writing, but there is a little bit of math incorporated into it too. So that's mainly the difference between the writing section and the SAT and ACT, that there's just a little bit of science components maybe every once in a while. But that's really it. The timing is quite similar. You get a little more time for the SAT in the writing section, but that's about it. So now I'm going to talk about a little bit more about my experience with the SAT and the ACT. I believe that I haven't got my scores yet for the SAT yet. I took the ACT twice, and I took the SAT actually last Saturday. Depending on when I put this video up, last Saturday, the 10th. And I personally like the SAT better, mostly because when I went into that test, I wasn't scared. With the ACT, I kind of was scared because it's kind of a hit or miss, especially with the reading and science questions when you skip the article and you go into the questions blindly. That was really frustrating for me. For the SAT, I had a little more of a confidence booster when I went into the test, and even that slight confidence booster, honestly, that can lead you to answer more questions, I strongly believe. If, however, you're stronger at math, I would go with the SAT, and the reading is a little more challenging also with the SAT, so even if you're good at reading, I would try the SAT as well. If you're not good at math, however, I would go to the ACT, because that really has limited math on it, whereas the SAT really emphasizes the math aspect of your knowledge. So that's my approach on the SAT and the ACT. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope that it was helpful, and I hope you can now choose which one you want to devote your time to more. And it's always a good approach maybe to do both, see how you do, and study for both, because really there's no other way you can really know unless you try and you study and you practice for both which one you're going to do better on. Now, for me personally, math and English, I'm pretty even with both, so for me, it was right for me to take both the SAT and the ACT. However, if you're stronger in one subject or the other, I would go with the SAT, and if you're poor in math, I would go with the ACT. So that's my approach. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys do good on your SAT/ACT tests. It's good that you're taking your first step into college and finding interest in these standardized tests, and it's good that you're opening doors to your future regardless of what you get on the tests. Colleges see that you're trying and you really want to brighten your future, and these standardized tests are your first step to get there. So, continue working hard in high school, and we'll see you in the next video.